Facebook Live. Nice to see you all. Let me get Instagram going. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Facebook and Instagram Live. Nice to see you all. As you are tuning in, I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, love to know three things you're grateful for out there in digital landscape. Today, we are focused on day number 42 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. And specifically, this is for people who might be feeling lost or disconnected. I'm going to tell you a story of a young man I crossed paths with at an event this a couple weekends ago, or this last weekend, and wonderful human, but he was feeling, at the time when him and I first crossed paths, he was in pain, shock, anger, and grief. And there was an exercise I talked about in a post that allowed him to get grounded, feel calm, feel grateful, and feel clear-minded in just a few moments. So we're going to talk about how to access that in today's session here. But to get started, I saw hello from London, hello from New York, hello from, looks like the UK or Australia. Good morning. Love your live videos. Glad to hear it. Thank you. Thank you. Naeem from Puerto Rico. Welcome back. Jessica K from Riverside, California. Grateful for my marriage, my 6 amazing children, laundry being done for the day. Congratulations. Let's see. From St. Pete, grateful for health, grateful for my job, grateful for the Robbins family. Very nice. Los Angeles tuning in. Toronto. I see Mexico in the house. Puerto Rico. Aussies are here. We have people from all over the world. I'm grateful from you all. Mexican living in Sydney. Very nice. Melbourne, Australia. Hello. Is that North Dakota? Grateful for my husband and 2 amazing boys. All right. So let's dive in. Real quick in the comment section, have you ever felt lost in life? Have you ever felt disconnected? Have you felt pain? Have you felt shame? Have you felt, anger or grief? A lot of these emotions are very similar things tied together. A lot of times where this happens is because there's an event or situation that shocks your nervous system that when it happens, you go, and the immediate thought, the feeling is kind of just like this feeling of shock in your nervous system. I don't know if you've ever had it before. I've certainly have. You feel grief, pain, frustrated, sadness, anger, and it's kind of this weird loop where it's like you get really sad and really down and really out of it, and then you get pissed off and angry, and that shouldn't happen, and then you start crying and get frustrated, and then you get really sad and hurt and angry and frustrated, and then you get angry and pissed to get control. And you do like this little looping pattern where you go back and forth between sadness and anger and sadness and anger and sadness and anger. I don't know if you've ever felt this kind of stuff. Let's see. Jitten from London said, fed up, well, stuck right now. So this should help if you're stuck right now. And what ends up happening, what's really going on is your body's in this kind of stuck pattern or loop. My dad calls this a crazy 8, and a downward spiral is another way to say it. But been there. Awesome. Break the cycles. And so we're going to talk about how to break the cycle. And there's many ways to do this, but we're going to talk about a really simple, easy, and quick way to do it so you can get an almost instant result for something like this. P.S. If you know someone who's stuck in this kind of position right now, please tag them in the comment section or share this with them so they can come and view this. I really hope this helps someone in a moment. And I'll tell you a little story of someone it helped. And honestly, he told me, and it just touched my heart. And he said it saved his life. So I hope this is useful for whoever it is out there who's struggling with this right now. I hope this finds you at the moment you need it most. And I hope this little message here is something that really helps reground you and find your peace, find your clarity of mind, find your kind of just your centeredness, your calm, and your gratitude moment again. And if it does, just such a blessing to be able to chat with you. So in getting started, a lot of times what's going on internally, besides the grief, besides the pain, besides the frustration, sadness, or the anger loop that's happening, the other element that's going on is either that should not have happened, or this should not have happened, or the other aspect that may be going on is that should have happened, or this should have happened. It's either what shouldn't have happened or what should have happened. And it's more or less focusing on the past and what's out of your control. That's part of what's causing this. And it's feeling that it's unjust in some way, shape, or form. Before I tell you how to solve this real quick, what I'm first going to tell you is a quick story. I ran into a young man. He was at an event. He wanted to come say hi. It's a beautiful human who follows us here online. For privacy reasons, I won't share his name. But this young man crossed paths with our work a few months ago. And he was in an interesting point in his life. He was engaged to this young woman and everything was going okay. And all of a sudden one night they went to bed. The next morning he woke up and he's like, well, where is she? He's like, hey. And he looked around and he went outside to the shed outside, and she was hanging there by a rope. She had hung herself that night. And he was instantly in shock. Instantly in pain, instantly in sadness, instantly in grief. He didn't know how to handle this. He said it's the first time he reached out and held her hand, and it was numb, it was empty, it was lifeless, and he didn't know what to do. And he just was in a state of absolute shock, and he ended up getting in his car and from Colorado driving all the way back to Texas to where he grew up. And he was just completely in a state of shock, and he didn't know what to do. And he felt lost and empty. And he drove the whole way there, and he crossed paths with some of our material. He had put a YouTube video on to listen to, and ours somehow got served up next. It was my TEDx talk. And in that TEDx talk, we talk about designing your ideal day. And he had stopped to get gas. He got back in his car. He's driving. And on his speakers, it's talking about this ideal day design process. And at the time, his vision just collapsed. He didn't know what to do. His plan was to go home and kill himself, because he couldn't imagine living without her. He couldn't imagine going forth. He felt like he was responsible for her death at that point. He felt shocked and again, grief, and then would get into anger, and he just kept going in this little pattern. And he was really stuck in this moment. And what ended up happening was he heard this little ideal day design process, and he started listening to it. He listened to it, he said, 18 times on the drive from where he was all the way down to Texas. This young man started following me on Instagram. He saw a quote that popped up, and this quote specifically was how to ground yourself in the moment. And he said this quote literally saved his life, because he was in a day where in his head it was all stirred up emotionally. He was going back and forth into this crazy 8 cycle. He felt like he was absolutely at the end. He was ready to take his own life. And he read this little quote, this little post that showed up at the moment he needed it most. And it was really simple. It says, take time to reconnect with yourself in the moment. And in the little comment, I said, go outside. And this is the exercise for today. Go outside. And really simple, spend 60 to 90 seconds first, quiet it, put earplugs in, quiet your ears, quiet your nervous system, and just look around and spend 60 to 90 seconds capturing everything you can see, and try to see as many new things that you've never seen before as humanly possible for 60 seconds. See as many as you can. The next step is close your eyes and just listen. And for the next 90 seconds, try to listen for every single sound you can hear, and listen for as many as humanly possible, and listen for things you haven't heard before. Just keep listening and listening. After that, spend the next 90 seconds feeling everything you could possibly feel. Feel every sense you could possibly feel around you for the next 90 seconds. And from there, allow yourself to become completely grounded, completely present, completely in the moment. And he said, as simple as that little exercise is, it legitimately saved his life, because it allowed him to get out of this crazy 8 cycle into his body, into the moment, right here and there. Now, once you're in the moment, take a moment for 60 seconds to list every single thing that you're grateful for. Everything that you're grateful for, and flood your body, fill your body up with all the good stuff. And what happened in this little process of becoming incredibly and totally present incredibly grounded and then truly grateful for the moment. He said it helped him go from pain, shock, anger, and grief to grounded, calm, grateful, and clear-minded. And so my hope for you, if you're out there and if you're struggling in this moment where you're caught in this crazy eight, I hope if you take time to get outside, spend 5 minutes grounding yourself and then flooding yourself with, solid, true gratitude for the little things. I hope this has a chance to help you find a little light in the darkness. Hopefully there's a little moonlight in your darkest hour in that moment. And then at that point, reach out and say hello to someone. And this young man did for us. He came out of nowhere. He just started listening to our podcast and he did something beautiful for us. He just, out of nowhere, I received an email. He's like, hey, I'm not sure if this is useful, but I like your stuff. And, I just wanted to say, I hope this is useful. And he typed up word for word show notes for our entire podcast and emailed it to me. I was like, wow, that's really useful. I said, would you be willing to do this for other episodes? We could pay you, like we could figure something out, or we could try to figure out, if there's a budget or something. And he said, I'd love to. And now for 60 episodes, on his own goodwill, he's literally written the show notes for us for 60 episodes. And I had a chance to meet this young man. I didn't know all this about him, but I ran into him at a conference here in Miami, and I went and said hello. And he told me this whole story. And it was just, it touched my heart. And after telling me this story, he said, you saved my life. And I said, you saved your life. We just offered a little bit of content that luckily found you on the day you needed it most, at the moment you needed it most, with exactly what you needed to hear. So hopefully this little message finds someone out there in the world. But beyond that, we said, he said, I want to repay you. He said, I owe you my life. I said, no. I said, please, the only thing you can do to repay us is pay it forward. Help someone else who's in their darkest hour and be some moonlight for them. And he says, what's crazy is I think I have. And he said, you saved this other girl's life too. And I said, no, I didn't. I don't know this other girl. Who is she and what happened? He said, I was at a party and I noticed this one girl was just sitting at the table by herself, not communicating with anyone. And I went and sat next to her. I said, how you doing? She goes, not good. I said, how you feeling? She goes, I feel like there's no purpose to life. I feel like I should just die. And he went, interesting. I felt that way before. And she went, really? And they had a conversation. And through the conversation, he shared things that he learned through watching these little Facebook Lives and other stuff we post. And he shared them with her and helped her figure out what she wanted to do and who she was and what she was about. And by the end of the conversation, he said, listen, here's the thing, though. I'm not going to let you leave unless you make a commitment that you're going to call me or email me first thing tomorrow morning. And she's like, okay. And by the end of the conversation, he had taken a little dry erase whiteboard and he had, drawn little things and showed her kind of stuff. And something beautiful happened the next morning, or before she left, she drew a little smiley face on the board and wrote, thank you. And the next morning, you got an email from her at 7 something in the morning saying, hey, still here. Thank you so much for last night. And so the beauty is you never know what happens. You never know how someone gets a message. And it's whether it's one of these little silly posts we put out or whether it's you just taking something and paying it forward, or this little video, tagging someone in or sharing with them. You never know how these things reach people when they really need it. And you never know the positive difference it has the potential to make in their life. So hopefully if you're stuck in that moment of pain, shock, anger, and grief, this will help you get grounded, calm, grateful, and a clear mind. And just keep going. Keep going. Like, it was just said right here in the comments, you never know what tomorrow brings, and you never know, even though you've lived through one of your hardest moments, you don't know how that hard moment has the ability to pay forward and help save someone else's life. And so the pain you went through, you can prevent others from having to go through that pain if you're willing to step up and stand up for other people and be their advocate in the moment where they need you. And if you're willing to love on them and help them, you can prevent others from having to go through the pain that you had to experience by showing up for when they need you most. So hopefully this is useful. Hopefully this is helpful. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife. We're getting ready to pack up and go speak at an event in Phoenix coming up. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. And I very much look forward to talking to you all tomorrow for day number 43 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. Talk to y'all soon.